Good evening everyone and welcome to a very special spooky Halloween edition of On the Sofa. I'm Amy and I work in our marketing department, and joining me today is Emily to chat about Scotland's most haunted castles.
So hi, I'm Emily, also part of the marketing team, and yeah, a little frightened of what's to come today.
Yeah, admittedly I'm not a very big fan of Halloween as I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, but I'm willing to get over my fears to share some fantastic stories set in the most haunted castles in Scotland. So we begin this episode with our most local haunted castle, Hermitage Castle. A scary thought given that this castle is only an hour away from us, but hopefully the ghosts don't make their way over to Duns after we tell this story.
Oh, let's hope not.
Fingers crossed. Hermitage Castle is located in Newcastleton on the border between Scotland and England and is known as the guardhouse of the bloodiest valley in Britain. The castle was fought over time and time again, mostly by the Elliots, Scots and Douglases, who all have connections to the castle. The Elliot chief even brings her clan members here every year to celebrate their ancestry. However, building the castle in the 13th century almost brought Scotland and England to war. The castle was originally built by Lord de Soulles in the 1240s, and for most of its existence this fortress was key to controlling the Scottish Middlemarch. However, it is said to have connections with Mary Queen of Scots, which we'll tell you all about later on.
On to the bleak eeriness of Hermitage. Aside from the fact the castle doesn't look like the most pleasant day trip location, with its monolithic stone walls and very few tiny windows, creating quite the sinister look, there are tales of black magic and heinous torture that give this castle its creepy reputation. One ominous tale is that Lord de Soulles, who built the castle, was widely disliked by the locals, and he had inflicted a reign of terror on the neighbourhood. And because of this, he was boiled alive and molten lead by a local magician.
Oh my god.
So watch out for the borderers if you upset
you've
them.
heard about the Reavers. They're pretty scary.
Yeah. There are debates on whether this story is true, as some believe him to have been imprisoned in Dumbarton Castle after plotting against Robert the Bruce. But we think the first story is correct, given that we've heard visitors of the castle report hearing strange noises and paranormal activity, which some believe to be the ghost of Soul.
Oh wow.
So
I'm not sure if I want to visit this castle.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit scary.
I've driven past it, but I've never actually been into it, so I can't really report myself on whether that's true.
Well, moving forward to the 16th century, this haunted castle also has a romantic past. In 1566, James Hepburn, 4th Earl of Bothwell, was badly wounded in a skirmish by wee Jock Elliot of the Park, a noted reaver.
I mean, the wee Jock doesn't sound that
Terrifying.
kind of notorious.
No,
but
not really.
We'll see.
The Earl's bodyguard carried him back to Hermitage, only to find Elliots had infiltrated the castle and he had to bargain to get back into his own home.
Ooh.
When news of this came to the ears of Mary Queen of Scots, who was visiting Jedburgh at the time, only 25 miles from the castle, she dropped everything to ride to the castle to be by his side. Still married at the time to Lord Darnley, she couldn't stay the night at the castle, so after a 2-hour visit set off to return to Jedburgh. But on her journey her horse tripped into a bog, and after her fall Mary contracted a fever which she was lucky to survive. She stayed in Jedburgh for a week to recover, but only 7 months later she and Bothwell married. So at least the fall and the fever were worth it for a true love story.
Exactly.
Emily and I visited Mary Queen of Scots' house in Jedburgh earlier this year, where she recuperated. So if you want to learn more about that side of the story, you should give it a watch. We'll link it in the description.
Surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly if you know your Scottish history, Edinburgh Castle is next on our list of the most spooky castles. Yes, that's right, one of Scotland's most important historical monuments is supposedly haunted by someone known as the Castle Pipe. When the last tourists leave for the day and the castle is secured for the night, the soldiers on duty have reported hearing the faint sound of the bagpipes as they make their rounds.
Oh, wow.
Don't know if I'd want to be the person in charge of securing the castle up for the night.
No, me either. It sounds a little bit terrifying and a lot of responsibility.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Even without that.
Yeah, even without the piper, yeah, definitely. The legend of the Edinburgh Castle piper goes back several centuries when a tunnel was discovered under Castle Rock. That's the volcanic plug in the middle of Edinburgh which the castle sits on.
Can't miss it.
No, definitely not. No one knew where it went, and it wasn't big enough for an adult to enter, so a young piper boy was sent in and told to play his bagpipes so the people above could trace his progress. All worked well for a time, then all of a sudden the music stopped.
Ooh.
Roughly somewhere near the site of Tronkirk on the Royal Mile. Despite every attempt at a rescue, no sign of the boy could be found. After a time, when all hope was lost, the order was given for the tunnel to be sealed. Ever since that fateful day, people claim to hear the music of the lonely piper boy as he waits to be rescued.
Well, that's quite sad.
That's
one,
really sad, yeah. If I was him, I would be piping too, to haunt the people.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure that he's never forgotten, I
Yeah.
suppose. Another military ghost seen on the castle battlement is that of the headless drummer. Oh, they're all very musical.
Yeah, aren't they?
This grisly figure was first seen drumming a warning signal in 1650, just before the castle was attacked by Oliver Cromwell. And ever since, the headless drummer has been considered a warning signal of all danger coming to the castle.
Mm.
So Edinburgh Castle hasn't been attacked for some time now, thankfully.
Yeah.
So that might be the explanation behind why no one sighted him today.
Yeah, that would make sense.
We can see the castle from the door of our Edinburgh shop, so we'll have to look out for him. But, I mean, it's going to be a little concerning if we do spot him.
Yeah, because it means there's a war coming.
Well,
So I hope we don't spot him.
yeah, exactly.
There have also been reports of a ghostly man who smells distinctly of manure and tries to push visitors over the castle's battlements. Lovely.
Yeah.
Just what you want if you're visiting our beautiful capital city. The story goes that he was one of the many poor souls imprisoned in the castle's dark, damp, rat-infested dungeons. These prisoners were supposedly beaten, tortured, and sometimes perished. Desperate to escape, he crawled into a wheelbarrow full of muck, hoping to be taken out of the castle and emptied onto a nice soft dung heap. But the wheelbarrow was tipped over the battlements instead, and the poor man broke his neck on the jagged slopes of Castle Rock.
Oh.
I can understand why he's haunting everyone as well.
Yeah. I mean, it
I'd be
was
annoyed.
quite a good
It
thought
was
of
an
how
idea.
to
Yeah, it was a good idea.
escape. Yeah, just didn't really work
Just
out
didn't
very
work,
well.
yeah.
Arguably, the most tragic story to come out of Edinburgh Castle is a mysterious lady dressed like a 16th century noblewoman who's been spotted around the older parts of the castle, sometimes wandering about and at other times weeping. But you wouldn't blame her considering the unfortunate historical figures she has been associated with. It's thought that she is Janet Douglas, Lady Glamis, a woman accused of witchcraft by vengeful King James V, who took his grudge against her brother out on her. Janet's brother, Archibald Douglas, 6th Earl of Angus, went on to marry widower Margaret Tudor, James V's mother, making Archibald the young king's stepfather. The king soon became hateful of his stepfather, who had taken on a guardian role in his life, and supposedly had a proclamation written up that Archibald could not come within 7 miles of him.
Wow.
I mean, sounds like he was only trying to look out for him.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
a little harsh.
Very harsh, very dramatic.
Yeah. Lady Glamis was summoned before Parliament and accused of witchcraft, plotting to poison the king and supporting her brothers. Even then, everyone knew that accusations were slightly dramatic, but nonetheless, Janet was burned at the stake outside the castle in front of her 16-year-old son. Whew, goodness me.
Very brutal.
Yeah. If you don't think that's a restless spirit, then I'm not sure what is. After her execution, the Grey Lady began appearing at the castle. A knocking sound can be heard and is thought to be the hammering of the workmen building the scaffold in which Janet was burned alive. Ooh.
Wow.
Some visitors to the castle even report having seen the ghostly figure roaming the halls and weeping.
Oh,
So,
that's very sad, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, that all seems very dramatic.
It is
doesn't
very
Yeah.
dramatic, yeah. Next up is Inverrary Castle, the seat of one of the most well-known Scottish clans, Clan Campbell. Inveraray has so many ghostly stories, we have handpicked a few of our favourites to share with you. We start with the tale of the Ghost Riders in the Sky. So we're going all the way back to the year 1758, 10th of July to be precise, when Dr. William Hart and 2 companions decided to take some air in the grounds of Inverrary Castle. The 3 men had been walking for many an hour, passing the time as 3 friends will, boasting about who was more successful with the ladies, and bickering about who among them was the bravest.
No changes there then.
No. The doctor and his friends were, to put it simply, in fine spirits. Coming up to the castle, they saw a vision that would haunt them for the rest of their days. In the sky above the castle, they could see what appeared to be a battalion of French soldiers fighting a group of Highlanders. The Highlanders were overpowered and slaughtered by the French. It wasn't only the doctor and his friends that saw the ghostly gathering. A group of young women also claimed to have seen it. The tale takes a stranger turn when it was discovered a few weeks later that a group of Highlanders were indeed slaughtered by the French at the Battle of Crillon on the 8th of July, only 2 days before.
Oh, so
that's weird, isn't it?
I know, you probably would have thought, oh, they've just been having a wee drink or something,
yeah.
But no.
They've just been seeing things, but maybe it was true.
Yeah, maybe. I do have to say, when I visited Inveraray for the Highland Games this summer, I had a great day and no spooky sightings. But then again, midsummer with thousands of people cheering on the caber toss probably isn't the traditional time for a haunting.
No, I wouldn't think that's when the ghost would appear.
No, maybe so many strongmen in the area. They're like, nah, we'll give it a rest.
Away, yeah. Maybe the ghosts get scared.
Maybe.
Never know.
Mm. Well, our next story is about the chiefs of the clan. As the Campbells have a firmly held tradition that 2 days before the chief of the clan makes their way into the next world, in other words, when they're about to die, a ghostly galleon can be seen making its way up Loch Fyne toward Inverrary Castle. The boat doesn't stop at the shore, but keeps going straight into the castle to pick up the chief and carry him from this world. Well, there's not much distance between the loch and the castle, so not much further to go.
Yeah.
But the story also goes that one of the chiefs of the clan during the 18th century was so convinced that the boat was coming to take him away that he drank a big old batch of poison so as not to keep the boat's crew waiting. I mean, that's very polite of him.
Isn't it? That's strange, isn't it?
Mm.
Our final story about the castle is possibly the eeriest of all our stories to date and tells the tale of the haunting harpist.
Ooh.
In 1644, the Marquis of Montrose and his merciless men were advancing on Inverrary Castle. Knowing what fate the fiends would have in store for him should he not succeed, Clan Campbell's chief made like a banana and split.
Oh, well, there you go.
What a coward. Unfortunately, the chief, in his haste, must have forgotten to tell any of his staff that they too should do a vanishing act, as when the Marquis showed up, presumably in a real temper, he found the chief's harpist. Now, the story goes that the harpist was an Irish lad. For some reason, this fact only angered the Marquis further. Perhaps he was prejudiced? What, he must have said to himself. An Irishman working for that low-down, dirty scoundrel Campbell? Why, I'll show him. Whether the him there alludes to Campbell or the Irish harpist, I can't say, but what I can say is that both of them caught the brunt of the Marquis's fury.
Oh. The Marquis and his men decided that the reasonable, interesting interpretation of reasonable here, thing was to murder the harpist and then cut him into 4 pieces, which they had arranged on the chief's bed.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Punishing the chief by removing his favourite harpist from his service, as well as causing one heck of a cleaning job.
Oh, yeah.
Today we live in somewhat more civilised times, the reduced instances of quartering harpists being one of the key indicators that we have moved on. The harpist, on the other hand, has supposedly not moved on. He seemingly decided to attach himself to the bed upon which his remains were laid and set up permanent residence. Visitors to the castle have reported feeling great sorrow and uncontrollable grief when they enter the room in which the bed is placed. I mean, I hope the current chief doesn't stay in that room, because that would be a bit bizarre.
Yeah, it would, yeah, definitely.
I'm sure the castle's big enough that you could switch.
Yeah, I think so.
The library too has boasted incidents of disembodied harp music and unexplained headaches that come and go without explanation.
Very weird.
Harp music is also said to be heard when a member of Clan Campbell is about to die.
Wow.
I mean, it's a very large clan.
Yeah, so that'll be happening quite a lot, will it not?
Yeah, fairly
Wow, I
frequent.
don't know if I would like to live there. So, for the horror obsessed among you, I bet you're wondering if you can stay in any of these haunted castles. Well, you would be in luck. if you fancy meeting the haunted harpist for yourself, as you can actually spend the night in Inverrary Castle.
There you go.
Yeah. However, if ghosts and ghouls aren't your thing, then not to worry, as your chances of running into a castle ghost are pretty slim, as there are actually over 1,500 castles in Scotland.
Well, there we have it. We hope you've enjoyed learning all about Scotland's spooky castles. I will definitely be sleeping with the light on tonight.
Yeah. Me too.
Yes. If you'd like to discover more Scottish history, eerie or not, then remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, email newsletter, and follow us on social media so you don't miss the next episode.